Thank you very much for joining our press conference today. We are together, three members of the European Parliament, in front of you, Eder Gardiazabal, Dragoș Păslaru and myself, Siegfried Mureșan, as co-rapporteurs for the Recovery and Resilience Facility. This is the largest part of the European Union response to the corona crisis. 750 billion euros in form of Next Generation EU is the total EU response. Out of this, 672.5 billion euros is the Recovery and Resilience Facility. Eder Gardiazabal, Dragoș Păslaru and myself have worked a lot in the European Parliament, and we are now in a position to present to you the position of the European Parliament on this important legislative file. This week, the European Parliament has entrusted us with a large majority with the mandate for the upcoming and final negotiations with the Council before this facility can become reality and money can start helping the people, the enterprises and the countries affected by the virus. This week, with a very large majority, the Committee on Budgets and the Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs has approved our mandate for trilogues, 84 votes in favour, only 11 votes against and 4 abstentions. The majority was so big that a vote in the plenary was formally not required anymore, and no political group has requested a final formal vote in the plenary, so our mandate was confirmed. And this morning, immediately, because we want this facility to enter into force and people to be helped, immediately this morning we started trilogues, negotiations with the Council and with the Commission. We already had the first round. Eder, Dragoș and myself, we are going to briefly present to you the main elements of the Parliament's position. And the first and most important element which I would like to say is that in order for us as co-rapporteurs to obtain such a big majority in Parliament, we needed to work thoroughly with all political groups. There were more than 1,700 amendments tabled by the members of the Parliament. We took those amendments into account. The Parliament worked a lot on this file. We know that in July, the 27 heads of state and government, in an extraordinary European Council, agreed their position on the European Union's help following Corona, and we respect that agreement. And many elements of that agreement are very good, and the European Parliament is supporting them. We are not challenging them. For example, we support the allocation criteria on which basis money should be allocated, and herewith we also support the national envelopes allocated to each country. So the amounts negotiated by each Prime Minister or President for his or her member state are supported by the European Parliament. We are bringing changes and improvements to some elements of this facility, particularly in light of the developments between July and November. Because in July, the heads of state and government issued their position on the basis of what was seen in the first wave. But since then, we are seeing that there is a second wave now, which is bigger than the first wave. And we believe that the help needs to be targeted, and it needs to be made available sooner in a more convincing way. This is why we as Parliament propose to increase the pre-financing for the beneficiaries from 10 to 20%. This means that once a project is declared eligible, it should receive more money in the very beginning. This means that more help is coming faster to those affected. We also propose that the facility is available for 4 years instead of 3. Because it's clear now that Corona is not a short-term crisis anymore. Even after 3 years, there will be people still affected by the pandemic, and we want them to be helped in the 4th year. We are proposing 6 directions into which the money should flow, with our priorities being greening, digital, economic cohesion, help for the private sector as well, social cohesion, institutional resilience and youth, and my colleagues will enter into detail with regards to which directions and under which conditions money should flow. I would like to say just one thing. The money should be used to help those affected, but should likewise be used to modernize the economies. This is why digital and greening are important for the Parliament, and we support the objective that 20% of the facility goes into digital projects and 40% of the money goes into projects which have a positive impact upon the environment. The European Commission and the Council endorsed a figure of 37%. We, as a Parliament, support that 37%, obviously, but we are a bit more ambitious. We propose 40%. The Parliament wants to make this facility greener. We want to set the right framework, and as I said, my colleagues will discuss this with you, but we also want to give countries flexibility to use money where they believe money is best needed, because the needs are different from member state to member state. This is why we as a Parliament have refrained from putting forward an exclusion list of certain types of investments, so the European Parliament does not exclude by default any areas in which the money should flow. There is no such negative list of non-eligible programs. To conclude, I would just like to say that for the European Parliament, one principle is clear. Whenever a decision about the budget is made, the Parliament needs to be involved. It is like this at national level, it should be like this at European level as well. Governments propose budgets, Parliament adopts budgets. There can be no budget without a vote in the European Parliament. This is why the European Parliament wants to be involved on an equal foot as the Council in all decisions with regards to the Recovery and Resilience Facility. The European Parliament had no say with regards to the creation of the 750 billion Next Generation EU package. We were given no say with regards to the proportion between loans and grants, or with regards to the allocation of the money to individual areas. But we are given co-decision power for each of the individual sectorial files, like is also the Recovery and Resilience Facility. We are not challenging the ambitious role which the Council has set for itself, but the role of the Parliament needs to mirror that ambitious role of the Council, and you can imagine this is supported by a very vast majority of colleagues, members in the Parliament. We started negotiations today. We are committed to a quick conclusion. We have big respect for the position of the Parliament and expect them to respect our position likewise. The sooner Council and Parliament move closer to each other, the sooner negotiations can conclude. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your questions. And the co-rapporteurs, Eider Gardiazabal, we are three co-rapporteurs, and Dragos Păslaru, of course, have their remarks as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, so thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. As you know, since the beginning of the pandemic,